What's up, you guys? Welcome back to 2740 Solutions, home of the highest paid, the fittest, the most dangerous problem solvers on the planet. My name's Adam. Welcome back to the channel. Before we get into why reading is one of the most productive and the most lucrative habits you can get into and will certainly result to you being a millionaire, just want to remind you guys that subscribing to the channel this week will get you guys automatically entered to win 2 free days with my 2018 Dodge Charger Daytona. It is in Destroyer Gray, Dodge's best color. Changed my mind. It has a blacked out roof. We don't mess with sunroofs on this channel, so no, it does not have a sunroof. So remember, subscribe this week, aka right now, to get automatically entered to win 2 free days with my Dodge Charger Daytona. So with that being said, let's get into this. So, the average American reads 4 to 12 books a year. Now, if you take the high side of that, 12 books a year, that's 1 a month. That's pretty good. But honestly, the median from the stats that I've seen is way closer to 4 than it is to 12. So average American, 4 to 12 books a year. 12 sounds all right until you hear how many the average millionaire reads a year. The average millionaire reads between 26 and 52 books a year. 52 books a year, that's 1 book a week. I mean, heck, 26 books a year, that's 1 book every 2 weeks. So just wanted to show you guys the stats. So as you can see, we got 4 to 12, and then we got 26 to 52. So if you do the average of this, so let's just say you're taking about 6, and then you're taking about, 40, 45. The average American is reading about 8 times less books a year than the average millionaire. So based off that stat alone, I mean, that really resounded with me. But if the stats aren't enough for you guys, we can go into a couple of the reasons why reading books, especially the volume of books, is so important. So, when you read books, you obviously increase your vocabulary. Mentally stimulated, in general, just kind of stimulates the brain. And then the biggest thing, at least for me, is that it cultivates ideas in your brain. So if I'm reading a real estate book, that doesn't mean I'm automatically just going to go out and get some of that juicy passive income automatically deposited into my bank account. No. What it does is it starts talking about assets. It puts me in the mindset of acquiring assets. And that in and of itself will start to manifest itself, today, tomorrow, a year from now, 10 years from now. So just because you're reading a book doesn't mean it automatically is going to do something in your life immediately, but it will start changing your mindset and the contents of the book, especially if it's a good book, if it's mentally stimulating, if it's creative, will start manifesting itself even in your subconscious. So I don't want to get too much into the why here as much as kind of let the stats speak for themselves, and then also identify some ways that we can get your numbers up. We want to pump those numbers up, baby. They're too low. They're too low. So, a couple problems that I've had, when I identified that I didn't read enough, and now I feel like I do. I'm getting close to that, about 26 books a year. I try to average one. I shoot for 1 book a week, but I really end up doing about 1 book every 2 weeks. But hey, it's on that lower end of the millionaire spectrum. So hey, we're getting there. We're getting there. So how can you increase the amount of books that you read per week? So the first thing for me was it's not enough time, or not that I didn't have enough time, not that I can't read, but it's just that I don't like sitting down and reading from a physical book. Like I get distracted pretty easy. It's just a fact. I mean, there's a lot of people who can sit down there and do it, and props to you guys for doing that, because that takes a lot of self-control, especially in this age where, we got our phones, we got all these nice little trinkets around here, we got headphones in, and everything's instant gratification. So props to you guys who can sit down and just straight up read a book. So for me, I use Audible, which, if you guys are not familiar with Audible, it's basically the biggest way, it's backed by Amazon, but it's the biggest way and with the most titles to go ahead and listen to audiobooks. So the way to solve it for me, with not being able to just sit down and physically read, was just start downloading audiobooks, because all I had to do was throw in some of these bad Larrys, some Power Beats or Power Beats Pro, and hey, the book's just getting read to me there. I don't even really have to do half the work. I just have to listen and absorb it. And honestly, I think I absorb more of the contents of the book by listening to it than I do by reading it. Now, I'm not trying to trigger anybody. If there's anybody who loves reading books, loves feeling that paper, loves seeing that ink, then hey, props to you. But for me, Audible cranked up my books number from basically 0. I basically never read except for when I had to now I'm averaging about a book every 2 weeks. I mean, that's insane. So Audible solved the physically reading a book problem for me. Next, if it's time. I know a lot of people, especially if you're watching this channel, I know your time is tight. You're probably an overachiever. You probably got multiple commitments, whether it's, job and side hustle or job and real estate, job and kids, all these things going. So props to you for committing. But if you're looking to squeeze every ounce out of the hours in your day, I bet you probably spend a lot of time either traveling, driving, transportation. So again, Audible solves that problem for me because I just throw in either this or plug it into my car, and then I listen to books, on my, I commute roughly an hour a day total, maybe an hour and a half, plus then my side hustle with Turo. So I'm in the car a lot. So I can crush 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of a book in one day just because it's being read to me while I'm doing something else, whether it's driving, whether it's sitting there typing something out, just have your tasteful headphones in, knock it out, right? So Audible solves that problem for you too, the time problem. Just try to fit it in when you can fit it in, right? If you don't have ideas for what books to read, I have recommendations. So part of the solution is you guys coming here, you watching this video. There's going to be a link below to Audible, and I will give you a great title to start out with. It applies to literally everybody, so just wait about 1 more minute and we'll hop into that. So ideas, Audible will give you ideas. You can Google search it, YouTube it. I'll give you ideas, or just, figure out where you want to be in life and figure out what books those people are reading, because that's probably going to start cueing you onto how they got there and how they're making their money and all that good stuff. Again, reading it gives you so much information that then your subconscious will process, and then hopefully, as long as you're doing the right things, it will start manifesting itself and will manifest those results. So the last thing is willpower. Willpower to read I kind of already addressed it in the whole sitting down and reading a book, but the willpower thing, I mean, just with using my phone, with using Audible, it really takes the willpower out of it, because all I got to do is just half the time I plug it in my car, it just starts playing again. So I don't even have to make a conscious decision to be like, oh, I should probably read a book because I need to read a book every 1 to 2 weeks to be a millionaire. No. If you already have a book started, plug it in, or turn on your Power Beats, or turn on your AirPods, or whatever. Turn on your Raycons if you buy the stuff from YouTubers. And that decision's already made for you. So unless you refuse to download the Audible app, or unless you refuse to use it, I don't really see a way that you can't read between probably 26 and 52 books a year. So again, Audible link in the description so that you can it comes with a free audiobook, and then also Audible does, they do free titles every month of the Audible originals. I don't see a ton of meat on the bone there, but I haven't really looked into it that much. I just go for my business books mainly, business books and stuff that has to do with money, has to do with business, has to do with leadership. So I got tons of recommendations for you guys. Let's hop right into that. So the recommendation I have for you guys this week is a book by Voss. He is a former FBI negotiator. That is how he made his, that's what he did for a career, over 20 years doing that. The book title is Never Split the Difference. Again, that's Never Split the Difference by Voss. In that book, he basically draws up all his experiences and really gets after it in a very psychological way. And a lot of the things he talks about are almost counterintuitive. So, for instance, he talks about mirroring. So, if you're trying to get more information out of somebody, so let's say I was talking to Davy Jones here. Hey, Davy, come here. Come here, bud. Come. So, let's say I was talking to Davy Jones here. We got Davy. He's just hanging out. Let's say I was talking to this pup, and I was trying to see, what his last meal was. And so I said, hey, man, are you full? Are you hungry? And then he would start talking. So instead of saying, just pinging him with questions, when was your last meal? What did you eat? How much did you eat? I would just let him come forth with information. And he said, oh, I already had lunch. And then I would mirror him and say, oh, you had lunch already? And he would say, yes, I had kibble for lunch. I was like, oh, wow, kibble for lunch. Nice. And then he'd say, yeah, kibble. Yeah, it wasn't enough, though. I'm still hungry. Mom only gave me 1 cup. So instead of saying, did you have lunch? How much did you have? What did you eat? you just mirror whatever their answer is, and they will just start. In the book, he calls it vomiting information. He's just like, here's all this information. And in sales, in management, in parenting, in the military, getting people to willingly give you information is 9 times out of 10 better than just pinging them with questions, because then they feel like they're on the defensive. Whereas if you're mirroring them, you're peddling their mind for them. You know, you got to imagine someone's mind is kind of like this bike that they pedal, but they don't always want to be pedaling. So if you reiterate what they just said, you kind of pedal it for them. So mirroring was one that just stuck way out to me. I'm still working on that. That example I know is a little choppy, but mirroring is huge in the book. Even his kids, mirroring so effective that Chris Voss's kids would use it on him, and then he wouldn't realize it for minutes and minutes, or maybe like they would come back with the car later that night, and he'd be like, you use mirroring on me to get the car for the evening. And they're like, I got you, Dad. Like, maybe you should know your own tactics, you know? So the other thing that really stuck out to me, I don't want to take too much more of your time. The other thing that really stuck out to me was in the book, for negotiating specifically, he highly suggests using ranges. So let's say that I was trying to go ahead and get you to buy a car from me for 25 grand, right? So you say, hey, Adam, what are you selling the car for? So I'd say, I'm looking to sell it for maybe, 30, 35 grand. And so the last thing you heard was 35 grand. And then you're like, oh my goodness, that is a Banana Land number. Like, he went to Banana Land and then he came back to me and presented that number. So you heard me say 35K. That's insane. Let's say this car is only worth maybe 20 to 25K. That's outrageous. But because I gave you a range like 30 to 35K, that makes the person that you're talking to say, okay, well, he said 30 to 35K. Maybe I'll make an opening offer of 30K or less than that, So basically the range, they hear the worst part of it. And it works both ways. If you're trying to bargain someone down, you hit them with a super low ball range, but then your higher number also makes it less offensive. So if I'm trying to buy a 25K car from you, and I say, hey, and I'm, I don't know, I can probably only do 15 to 20K. I mean, 15 is a pretty insulting offer. That's almost half off of 25. Whereas 20, that's within 20, 25%. That's within tolerance. So doing that range just ekes you out a little bit more wiggle room, whether it's money, whether it's time, whether it's whatever it may be, whatever situation you're in, using ranges to soften the blow but make it really an aggressive offer is super effective. And I've used it multiple times already to pretty good success, honestly. But situations may vary, and you still got to keep it within reason. At least one number in the range needs to make a little bit of sense. Okay, so let's just make sure I didn't forget anything. But yeah, so honestly, the whole reading thing for me was such a hurdle. Coming out of college, I was so burnt out on just being forced to read all these things that I thought were relatively silly. And honestly, Audible is how I solved that problem. I even used Audible a little bit when I was in college to read some of the books that were published on there. And it just made it a lot easier because I could be sitting there even doing other homework or working out or whatever. I mean, heck, if you don't have enough time in the day to work out and read separately, then you can combine those together. Then you crush at least an hour a day, an hour workout, and your book. I mean, that is like one of the most productive, dangerous hours that I can think of right now. Is reading and working out at the same time. That's out of control. So with that being said, remember, Audible link is in the description. If you guys want to check out some of the other things that we have going on, like Webull, or checking out what camera I use or anything like that, links are also below. Follow us on Instagram, 2740 Solutions. That is where I usually announce the competitions first. But remember, subscribe to the channel if you want to be entered to win your 2 free days with the Dodge Charger. And if you're watching this video after the 26th of July, 2020, just go to a more recent video from the channel within a week. And then that's where you'll be able to find whatever the most recent challenge is. So just go to a video within the week that of the actual date you're watching this video, and then you'll see somewhere in the description or somewhere in the video, I will say, hey, maybe this week we're giving away some of these bad Larrys. Some Power Beats Pro, we'll do an unboxing, and then maybe we'll give those away for a different type of competition. So again, appreciate you guys tuning in. Stay tuned later today. Probably it's gonna be a late one. It's probably gonna be like midnight because I got a lot of stuff to do today. I got Turo stuff. I got to go to work. I gotta do a bunch of stuff. So the S209 is getting its wheels back today. So you guys should be getting an update on the S209. That is this car. If you guys don't know S209, there's only 209 of them made. Mine's in World Rally Blue. These wheels are no longer the accurate color to the one I have. They're going to be a much more Subaru color, if you know what I mean. So stay tuned for that. C8 Corvette, still here, still doing big things. Not a lot of, no wheels on that bad Larry, but alrighty. So y'all stay safe out there. Stay tuned for the update later. And remember, Audible link is in the description. The recommendation for this week is Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. Again, that's Never Split the Difference. And it's an FBI negotiating book that really hits that human psychology that's going to make you an absolutely dangerous negotiator, parent, manager, military personnel, whatever it may be. If you don't read the book, you're probably going to get destroyed in your next negotiation. So stay safe out there. I'll see you tonight.